I was 16 the first time I mistook control for love. Back then, I thought love meant attention, any kind of attention, because I grew up in a home where silence filled every space louder than words ever could. My mother was a ghost in her own life, moving through our house like a shadow. My father had left long before I could remember, and by the time I hit my teenage years, I had become an expert at reading the smallest signs of care, the briefest gestures of affection. It made me an easy target for someone who knew exactly how to use that hunger. He wasn't much older, only a few years, but in that time of my life, a few years felt like a universe. He saw something in me, or maybe he saw through me. Either way, he found the cracks and knew how to fill them. It started with small things, the kind of things that made me feel seen. Compliments that lingered too long. Questions that made me feel like I was the center of someone's world. At 16, you believe that kind of attention means you're special, not realizing it's often the first sign of being trapped. When you're young, the line between love and manipulation is invisible. You only see it much later, after your heart has already paid the price. He made me believe we shared something pure, something forbidden only because the world wouldn't understand. I carried that lie like a secret badge of courage, convincing myself that what we had was real, that it was us against the world. I couldn't see that what was really happening was him rewriting my idea of love in a language I didn't understand yet. A language made of control, shame, and dependency. For years, I held that story inside me like a fragile glass ornament. When it finally shattered, I realized how much of myself I had lost trying to hold it together. I left home at 18 and moved states away, determined to start over. I enrolled in a small college in North Carolina, changed my phone number, deleted everything from social media, and tried to build a new life that didn't include my past. I thought running would erase it. But memory doesn't disappear. It lingers quietly like smoke in your lungs. In college, I tried to reinvent myself. I smiled more than I felt, laughed when I didn't want to, and told people I had a normal childhood because it was easier than explaining the truth. But every time I saw couples walking hand in hand, a shadow flickered in my chest, the same ache of something lost, something I couldn't name without breaking down. I tried dating, but I never stayed long. Every time someone touched me gently, I flinched. Every time someone said they loved me, I wondered what they wanted in return. I didn't know how to believe that love could exist without debt. It took me years to realize that I wasn't broken. I had just been taught a warped version of love. The problem was that I didn't know how to unlearn it. I buried myself in work, kept people at arm's length, and told myself that independence was freedom. But deep down, I was just afraid. Afraid of what it meant to trust again, to let someone close enough to see the scars I carried. Then, at 25, I got a message that changed everything. It was from his sister. She told me he'd been arrested for something unrelated, possession, distribution, things that no longer surprised me but still left a bitter taste. She said she found my number in an old notebook of his, next to a scribbled note that read, "She's the only one who really knew me." I remember sitting on my bed staring at that message for hours. It felt like a ghost had reached out from the past to remind me of everything I'd tried to forget. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every memory I'd buried came rushing back. The way he used to smile after hurting me, the way I used to apologize for things that weren't my fault, the way I convinced myself that my pain was proof of love. For the first time, I let myself cry for that 16-year-old girl who thought she was in control. I cried for her innocence, for her confusion, for the years she lost believing that love was something you had to earn through suffering. I cried for the woman I had become, the one who spent nearly a decade punishing herself for something that was never her fault. That night marked the beginning of my healing. I didn't call him. I didn't write back to his sister. But I did something I hadn't done in years. I told someone the truth. I sat across from my best friend at a coffee shop the next morning and said everything out loud. My voice shook, my hands trembled, and by the end, I felt lighter than I had in years. For the first time, my story wasn't a secret. It was real. And because it was real, it no longer had power over me. Therapy followed. Not the kind where you talk around your pain, but the kind that forces you to walk straight through it. My therapist once told me, "You can't heal what you keep pretending didn't happen." That sentence stayed with me. I learned to see my past not as something shameful, but as something I survived. I learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, it means freeing yourself from the weight of someone else's choices. Healing isn't linear. There were nights I still woke up shaking, mornings where guilt crept in like fog. But slowly I started rebuilding. I started painting again, something I hadn't done since I was a teenager. I painted what I couldn't say, broken glass turning into light, wilted flowers blooming again, storm clouds giving way to sun. Through art, I found language for my healing. Through time, I found compassion for the girl I used to be. Now, when I look back, I don't see a victim. I see someone who endured something she should never have had to. I see a survivor who learned that love isn't about control or pain. It's about safety, honesty, and peace. I've learned to love without fear, to trust slowly but fully, to build boundaries that protect my peace instead of isolating me. A few years ago, I met someone who showed me what real love looks like: patient, gentle, kind. It terrified me at first. Every time he touched my hand, my body wanted to recoil out of habit. But he stayed. Not with force, not with pressure, but with presence. It took me a long time to understand that love can be quiet. It doesn't demand. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't wound. It holds space for your healing, even when you're not sure you deserve it. Sometimes I still think about him, the person who broke me. Not with longing, but with understanding. I no longer wish him harm, though I know what he did was unforgivable. I think about what kind of pain turns someone into that, what kind of silence shapes a person into believing power equals love. But I don't dwell there anymore. I've spent too many years living in that shadow. The truth is, the past doesn't disappear. It becomes part of you, but it doesn't have to define you. It can be the soil where something stronger grows. I am proof of that. When people see me now, they see a woman who's calm, grounded, steady. They don't see the nights I spent screaming into a pillow, the panic attacks, the therapy sessions, the years it took to rebuild trust in myself. But that's okay. Those scars are mine, invisible but real. They remind me that I survived something meant to destroy me. And survival, that's its own kind of victory. If I could go back and tell my 16-year-old self one thing, it would be this: you were never dirty, never broken, never unworthy. You were a child who mistook manipulation for love because no one taught you what love should feel like. But you learned, you healed, and that's something no one can take away. Love, I've learned, isn't supposed to hurt. It's supposed to heal.